attorney Tim Anderson. Today is May 27th, 2021, and I wanted to spend this morning talking about something that I've learned a lot over the 2020-2021 pandemic period about my profession. We watched the president file lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit related to election challenges. And we watched the courts dismiss those cases time and time and time again. And of course, what the media did with all of that was they said, see, there's no evidence of election fraud. But the truth is, and the reality is that there were no cases that were notoriously resolved in the presidential lawsuits. They were all dismissed off of jurisdiction or standing or other legal technicalities, and the courts never got into it. For the courts to get into it, there would have had to have been discovery, and there would have had to have been people placed under oath, and there would have had to have been questions asked, and the courts never got into it. Well, I saw that also happen in my practice. We filed a lot of lawsuits during the pandemic against the governor, against other government officials, and many of those also got dismissed, not on the merits, but on jurisdiction. Most recently, we had the case with Senator Amanda Chase, where she was censured for attending a Donald Trump rally. And we filed a lawsuit against the Senate, and the court recently dismissed that case on the grounds that the court didn't have jurisdiction. And that's what's been happening with the courts. What I've learned about my profession in these years that we have been going on these 2020-2021 time period is that unless there is a specific roadmap, the court is not going to engage. And it's important to understand that. So, let me tell you how we fix this. Now, yesterday I did a video and we talked about whether it was legal or not legal for an employer to mandate a vaccination record in order to be hired or to continue employment. And the word legal is not the same as what is right or what should happen. It's what the law says is going on. And so in that particular situation, the EEOC has provided guidance to employers that they can do this. So what does that require? It requires people to file lawsuits and get the courts to engage. And the question is, will the courts engage? Our Attorney General filed an opinion letter that said colleges can mandate vaccinations in order for kids to go to college. Is that legal? I don't know. It would depend upon whether the courts are going to engage. The problem is that courts are more likely than not to say, we don't have jurisdiction, or you don't have standing, or this is an issue that we're not going to hear for this technical reason, than they are to actually get into the case. And so here's how we fix this in Virginia. We have to change the law. Now, I'm running for office. We've talked about that a lot. And one thing that I have thought a lot about is what can we do? What bill, what law could we pass that would compel the courts to get in the middle of disputes involving citizens with their government? And so what I've done is I've prepared a bill. And you can click on that bill. It's right up here. And essentially, it's the jurisdiction of the circuit courts. And what I put in there is the italicized and bolded provision. The rest of the jurisdiction, that's already what the law is. But in the italicized and bold section, you will see a paragraph that I have written that I would propose to amend the code. And essentially, it says this: if you have been aggrieved by governmental action, we are going to give you a new cause of action called a petition of redress. And you can file that petition in the circuit court in the city or county where you live, or in the city of Richmond, depending upon which one is better for you, or maybe you are not a Virginia resident. But the rule is that one, you have to be a U.S. citizen or lawfully in the United States, And two, you have to have a legitimate, actual grievance of something that the government is doing to you that you believe is in violation of law or violation of the Constitution. All right. So then, if you have this petition for redress, then you file it, and then the court has to prioritize that. They have to put it at the top of their docket, and they have to adjudicate that promptly. If the court finds that there's a constitutional violation or there's a violation of statute, then they can provide some kind of remedy. All right. But what it also says, and the big part of this is that if the court finds that there's not a statute or constitutional provision that specifically addresses your complaint, there's just a void, a legal void on this issue, that the court can provide its own remedy so long as there is no, it's not prohibited somewhere else. And that's the big part of the sentence. If the court doesn't have a roadmap of how to fix a problem, right now they say we're not going to get into that problem. If there's not a specific statute that says the court can do this, the court says I can't do this. But what this bill would propose is that if there's not something specifically addressing the issue, you still do it as long, and you provide a remedy so long as it's not prohibited. We need things like this because if you need to challenge something in the courts, like for instance, all of these government executive orders, if we need to challenge those, the courts would say, well, there's nothing specific in the law about that. But was it legal? Was it right that the governor said that churches had to be closed, but liquor stores could be open during the pandemic? I mean, just remember this. This was just last year when you could go buy liquor at the ABC store, but you couldn't go to Easter Sunday church service. Was that right? Was that legal? And the courts would say, well, we're not going to take that case because you can't sue the governor unless the governor gives you permission. This will allow that to happen. So these are the reasons why I'm running for office, because we have to start passing laws that bring the courts online. We have to start passing laws that let people make complaints on their government, petition for redress. That is something that we should have. We should have had it a long time ago, but if we've learned anything in 2020 or 2021, we need it now. We need to be able to go right to the courts with a complaint against our government, and the courts need not throw our cases out because it doesn't have jurisdiction. This gives the court legs to get into these fights and adjudicate citizen complaints. So take a look at that. That could even address the issues we talked about yesterday with mandatory vaccines in the workplace if the government were to mandate that in some kind of way. Or this might address issues that deal with whether your kids have to wear masks in schools. Things like this give the court the reason to get into the fight. This is a bill I'm very passionate about, and I hope I get elected so that I can propose this. But if I don't, I hope that one of my Republican friends sees this video and will adopt this and propose this if I'm not the guy doing it, because it needs to be done. Today is May 27th, 2021. My name's Tim Anderson. Have a great day.